How to mount Gudy 831 and Gudy 870 adhesives. The first step is to trim your materials to size. It's a good idea to trim one material slightly larger than the other. Once we have our two materials trimmed to size, now unroll the Gudy, barrier side down. This means the adhesive side will be facing up. If you're having trouble and the Gudy is trying to roll back onto itself, use a different tool like a ruler that we've used here to help hold the material flat. The next step is to take your first material and place it on the Gudy-O. We like to use opposing corners, meaning opposite corners, for greater control and handling. Start from one corner and slowly lower the sheet from one corner to the other. We're using a Teflon folder here to help burnish the material down onto the Gudy-O. Burnishing is essential to the process of mounting Gudy-O. If your surface is delicate and you find that burnishing will mar the surface, put a piece of silicone release paper or a different barrier paper and burnish on top of that. Keep burnishing. Make sure that there's proper adhesion across all corners of your first material. Now that you have that mounted, we're going to trim all four sides. If the Gudy-O sticks to your ruler or your straight edge, not to worry. Usually you can just flip it over and peel it right off. Now we'll go ahead and trim the other three sides. Now we'll flip it and burnish the other side. Again, like I said, the most important part to mounting Gudy-O or Gudy-V is the burnishing process. If you don't properly burnish it, it's going to be very difficult to remove the backing barrier paper that we're going to peel back right now. And you'll have little bubbles along the way, which makes it very challenging to remove. You can see here there's no puckering of the surface, no bubbles from the Gudy-O as we remove this barrier film. Now that we have the exposed Gudy-O, we have to be very careful when maneuvering this around. You can use that barrier sheet that we just pulled off to actually move it if your hands or different materials are sticking to it. And now we'll take our second material, which in this case is a piece of duo book cloth. We're going to flip it over so we have the side that we want to mount facing up. And we're going to take our other sheet of Chiagami paper here that has the Gudy-O on the back of it. And again, we're going to grab that using opposing corners, which will allow for greater control as we apply it to the back of this sheet of book cloth. Once again, we'll start on one corner and work our way to the opposite corner, slowly laying it down to make sure that we don't have any bubbles or creases in there. And then we'll grab our Teflon folder and begin burnishing once again. We like to work from the center to the outer edges, which also will help push any air bubbles that might be caught under the surface to the edges. And again, we want to make sure that we burnish really well. Now that we have that mounted, we can go ahead and take our straight edge and trim all four sides. And this is why we wanted to cut one material slightly larger than the other. And this is because Gudy-O and Gudy-V are not particularly forgiving adhesives. This means that once it's in place, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to move. This is why we decided to keep one slightly larger, which gives us a little bit more leeway in terms of mounting one to the other. And there you have it. We have our beautifully mounted piece of Chiagami paper to duo book cloth. No bubbles, no puckering, really nice and flat. Beautiful, nicely done.